Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. If that sounds like something you are interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Okay, so you guys already saw, today we're going to be talking about bronzers. It is summertime, it is getting hot, which means it's bronzer season. And I've said this a couple of times before, but just for context, when it comes to doing my makeup, bronzer is like my second favorite part of my routine. I love doing eyeshadow. Eyeshadow eyeshadow is king, eyeshadow is queen. But in terms of like the second most exciting thing for me, it is bronzers. And lately I have been gathering a lot of bronzers and my collection has gotten a little bit out of control. And I actually saw K Bella Beauty do a video that talked about her blushes, and I thought, hey, why not do that for my bronzers? Now this is a tag video and I know that a couple of people have done it before because I did take a look. And I'm not sure who the original creator is. And also because I did tweak some of the questions to be just a little bit different from the original video, it's kind of like the blush video tweaked to be about bronzers with some of the questions from the original bronzer video. I will try to see if I can find the OG creator of the tag, and I will also link K Bella Beauty's video below because that's what really inspired this one. So yeah, let's dive into my bronzer collection as I tell you guys all about the bronzers in my collection and my thoughts about them. Okay, so if you do want to do this video, I will have all the questions that I am using down below. Please feel free to do it. Please feel free to tweak the questions however you see fit, and just tag me in it because I love watching a good tag video. Okay, so the first question is, what is your newest bronzer? So I do have 3 new bronzers, and I'm saying all 3 because I purchased them at the same time. Well, 2 of them are from the same brand. So 2 I picked up from Trixie Cosmetics. Now this is the Flower Power Bronzer. I picked it up in 2 shades. I'm just going to show you guys one. But look at the size of this and the packaging. It's stunning. It's absolutely adorable. So it's this beautiful yellow packaging. And with this bronzer, you get 2 shades as well as a highlight. So you can mix and match. You can make it a shimmer bronzer, a matte bronzer. You can go deep. You can go a little bit lighter. You can kind of mix it together. So I am really, really excited to try this. I haven't played with this yet. I picked this up during the Memorial Day weekend. And in addition to that one, I also picked up the Colored Rain bronzer in Cinnabe. This is actually the bronzer that I'm wearing now, and I kind of like it. It reminds me a lot of Rihanna's Coconutty. So if you are my complexion and you use that one, this one would work for you. Now you can see size-wise, these are 2 very, very different sizes. This one is significantly smaller, and this packaging is a lot less interesting. But these are my 2 newest bronzers to my collection. And like I said, I did pick this up in another shade, so I actually do have 2 of them. So the second question is, what is your oldest bronzer? Now, I think I have this right, but my oldest bronzer, I believe, has to be my Morphe Glamour Bronze Bronzer in the shade Phenom. Now, I do think this is my oldest one because the packaging for this has 100% changed, and it does have like a pretty sizable divot in there. This used to be my only bronzer, and I love this. I still use this till today. This, I think, is one of Morphe's better products. I feel like it definitely does lean a little bit more red, but it is super duper blendable. I know that the shades from this line go deeper than this, so if you have a deeper complexion, you can most likely find a shade that would suit you. And like I said, the pigment and the blendability of this bronzer, superb. So if you are somebody that wants a drugstore, more affordable bronzer, I would definitely recommend checking out the Morphe line of bronzers because it works so well. Still, I don't know how old this is, but still works today. Still blends today. Okay, so next question is, what's your most expensive bronzer? And that has to be my Tom Ford Gold Dust bronzer. So this, I believe, retails for $75. And it's huge. It is pretty large bronzer. Let me just say something. I don't use this as a bronzer because this is light as hell. You probably saw me pull this up and was like, girl, ain't that a face powder? I use it as a face powder. This is technically a bronzer, but it is way too light for me, so I've been using it as a face powder. Now, I put it in this video because it's labeled a bronzer, so that's that, and it does retail for $75, I believe, so it is by far my most expensive bronzer. The packaging is super cute. It did come in like a nice sleeve, as a lot of luxury products do. But yeah, expensive with no shade range. Not shady at all. Okay, so the next question is, what is my most affordable bronzer? The thing is, I am not really sure about this. Let me check. So I had to check because I don't have a ton of like super duper affordable bronzers. So I have the Morphe one, I have one from Makeup Revolution, and then I have an e.l.f. putty bronzer. Now this, when I picked it up, it was $6, but e.l.f. has since raised their prices, so this actually does retail for $7 now. But it is a pretty decent bronzer. It is a cream bronzer. It does look like it goes pretty deep. But what I like about this is that it's super duper blendable. So if you are somebody that's not used to cream products, if you want to get into cream products and you want something that you can practice with before you go out and spend your money on super expensive cream bronzers, I would definitely recommend picking this up, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use cream bronzers. So I actually started with the e.l.f. bronzer to see if this was a formula that I was willing to work with. I'd always had powder bronzers. I liked how they performed, but I was like, I kind of want to try the cream bronzer lifestyle, but I don't want to pay a ton of money for a cream bronzer that I won't use. And with cream bronzers, because it's a cream product, it expires a lot faster. So I figured I would try this first. It's nice. It's definitely not the best one. I've tried better so far, but for the price, it's a nice solid bronzer, especially for beginners and learners. So the next question is your everyday bronzer. Now, I had to kind of think about this one, because when it comes to bronzers, I really do be rotating them out. I don't, for the most part, I don't just pick a bronzer and that's my everyday bronzer, because I really do be just like rotating, making sure that I'm using up my bronzers. So for this one, I decided to go with the Huda Glowish bronzer. This is in the shade Deep. This is actually the deepest shade that, the shade Rich, which is the deepest shade in the line. I do think that it needs to go deeper, but this does work really, really well. I love the way this bronzer performs. It is just effortless. It just blends into the skin seamlessly. It looks really natural. Like, it's definitely something that I can pull and use without having to maneuver or make it work. It just kind of works, which I appreciate about this. So this is definitely one that I can see as an everyday bronzer, because I can use it for both sort of natural everyday looks. But if I am feeling a little bit glam and I want to do a little extra, it's still one that I would be willing to pull, because I think it really does work well with any look that I'm going with. And it works really well with any other products that I'm wearing. So this is a solid one. Huda really did a good job with this. The range needs to be extended though, because like I said, this is the deepest one. Question number 6 is, which bronzer is worth the hype? So that one I had to give to the Dior bronzer. Now, I heard people rave about this bronzer. I heard people rant about this bronzer, and I was like, it can't be that good. And I actually picked this up in 2 shades originally, and I got shade 7 and shade 8. Now, shade 7 is too light for me, and I thought shade 8 was too deep for me. I ended up returning shade 7, and I kept shade 8, and as you can see, this baby been used and abused. I have been dipping and diving and digging into this bronzer because it is amazing. This melts into the skin like butter. I wouldn't be surprised if I hit pan on this very, very soon. I actually have a reel on Instagram where I use this bronzer on one side and then I use the Gucci bronzer on another side, and you could see how this just melts into the skin like butter. One of the issues that I did have with this originally is that it does lean more red than I typically prefer, but it is such an easy blendable bronzer that if you don't want it to be really harsh, you can just really take your time, swirl things in, and it turns out to be a very natural bronzer that's not too red. So I understand the hype. When people said it was a good bronzer, I was like, what y'all talking about? But now that I have really played with this one, I can 100% concur. It is a really nice bronzer that is worth the hype. Coming in at number 7 is the opposite. So which bronzer is not worth the hype? And I 100% had to give this to the Benefit Hoola bronzers. First of all, I hate the packaging. The packaging in this is just absolutely 100,000% not functional. Look at this. This is a full-size bronzer according to them. According to them, this is full size. And look at this packaging. It is so tiny. And these are the 2 deepest shades. So this is the deepest one. This is the one right before this. Do you see the jump? Do you see the jump in these 2 shades? When I need to use this bronzer, I have to start with the deepest shade and then buff it out with the caramel shade right above it, which makes no sense. Like, come on. In addition, because this box is so impractical, when I am trying, like my brush doesn't fit in here. For example, this is the reference number 22. It is really hard to maneuver your brush in there to pick up product to apply it onto your face. This packaging does not feel luxe. It doesn't even feel functional. It doesn't make any sense. And as far as I'm concerned, the shade range, it doesn't make sense either. And the quality and the performance of this bronzer does not make sense in terms of why it's so hyped up. So I know people love it. I just don't understand why. Because even when I go through the trouble of figuring out how to get my brush in there and to apply the bronzer, I don't think the formula is anything to write home about. So definitely not worth the hype. It's probably going to be one of those that gets decluttered from my collection very soon because I never ever reach for it. And to be quite frank, I forgot about it. I forgot that I had it until I was getting ready to do this video. So question number 9 is, which is your most natural bronzer? Now, for the most part, a lot of my bronzers are very natural. I don't like a very over-the-top look. I think in general, my makeup style, aside from my eyeshadow a lot of the times, is very sort of natural. I don't like to do too much. I don't contour. I don't do any of that stuff. So I really only go in with bronzer. And I had to go with the Marc Jacobs Tantalize because this is probably the most neutral bronzer that I have in my collection. And like I've said multiple times, I don't like red bronzers, but it's really hard as a black woman to find a bronzer that's not super red because a lot of these brands assume that if you are a deeper complexion, you want a red bronzer. You want to look orange or you want to look like red, which I don't understand. Now this does look light, and I picked this up at TJ Maxx like a couple years ago, and I was very hesitant to even pick this up to try it because I thought it did not work for me. I thought it was going to be too light. But baby, this works so well. I have actually been hoping that this makes a return to TJ Maxx, especially since Marc Jacobs is going through this rebrand or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. But because Marc Jacobs is going through whatever it is they're going through, I'm hoping that I can find another one of this as a backup because I love this bronzer. I try to use it pretty sparingly because I know that I can't get it anymore. But it's so good, it's so natural, it's so neutral that it's just like perfection, and it's not too red or too orange, and I don't have to make it work. It's just there. Love it. So of course, question number 9 has to be the opposite of that. So not what is your most natural, but what is your most glam or most extra bronzer? So I of course had to give that to good old Gucci. Now you know luxury always comes in its little protective sleeve, and then when you pull this baby out, you get the sort of like Tiffany blue packaging, which is so pretty, the blue and the gold. And then you open it up and then you get a really nice embossing. It does say Gucci in there. It's kind of rubbing off because I've been using this for a while, and you can probably see there's a little clip, well, little divot here on the side, and that is because when you open it up even further, you do get a mirror. And well, no, this isn't a mirror. It's just super reflective. You do get a brush at the bottom. So, and again, super duper reflective. Now, ain't nobody using this brush. This is a waste of space. So, there's that. But you do get a mirror on this side, though. But this bronzer itself is very glam. I think, first and foremost, the packaging is super duper extra and super duper luxe. But I will say that this is more extra than any of my other bronzers because it is my most red bronzer. If I really want to look bronzed, if I want it to be very clear that I am bronzed for the gods, that is the bronzer that I'll go for because it is so red. Now, I don't really go for it that often because, like I said, I don't like that super red, harsh red look. So I don't reach for it a lot. But if I am going for something that's a little extra, I will reach for that. Or if I want to do something that I'm not going to be wearing blush for, I don't mind reaching for that because the red kind of does act as a blush as well. So that has to be my most glam, my most extra bronzer. Question number 10 is, what is your most used bronzer? So this baby has been used and abused and been through some things and it's almost done, and that is my Fenty Beauty bronzer in the shade Cocoa Naughty. And look at that. I barely have any left. I am really trying to pan this completely. Am I going to end up repurchasing this? Honestly, probably not because my collection is so big. Would I recommend anybody interested in picking this up give it a try? 100%. This is also a very natural bronzer. It definitely is more neutral than it is red. So it is one that I have been reaching for a lot. It's one that I've had in my collection for a number of years. When I was really starting to get into makeup, you know, Fenty was that brand that you went to because they had a very, very good shade range. So it's one of the first bronzers that I had in my collection. Obviously, I've been using it a ton, and I'm at the point now where I'm almost done with it, and I cannot wait because it's been there for a while. It has a soft space in my heart. So yeah. I'm excited to really finish it, but it is definitely my most used bronzer. Question number 11 is the most underrated bronzer. And I thought about this one a lot, and I think I have to go with the Rare Beauty bronzer stick. I don't know what this is actually called. Oh, it is called a bronzer stick. So this, I think I tried on a whim. I went into Sephora and they had it there, and I was like, ooh, let me give it a try. And this is such a beautiful cream bronzer. Like, it blends like a dream. I did not know what to expect with this, but it is super creamy, but so blendable, so easy to work with. Like, I have no issues with this as well. And you can see that it is warm, like bronzers are supposed to be, but not super red. Definitely, I mean, it's kind of orange if we're being honest, but it is not super red at all. And you can really manipulate this to get the level of intensity that you want. I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about the Rare Beauty bronzer stick that much. And I know there are a ton of bronzers on the market, but when it comes to how affordable and the performance of that stick, I feel like people need to be talking about it more because it is amazing, especially for the price. I think it's less than $20, which is so good, especially in today's makeup prices. Lord Father. So 2 questions left. The next question is, what is the most overrated bronzer? Now, I have to go back to another one that I talked about, and that is the Benefit Hoola bronzer. Now, when I really started getting into makeup, the Benefit Hoola bronzer was really touted as the bronzer. It was that girl. Everybody had a Hoola bronzer, and I thought that, like, you needed to have the Hoola bronzer. And now, looking back at it, the people that was raving about the Hoola bronzer did not look like me. They really didn't. So I was like basing this need to have this bronzer on creators that were definitely significantly lighter than me. And to be quite frank, I feel like that deep shade only recently got added to their line. And I don't think that the formula is that good to what people raved about. So I have to say I think it's just overrated. I feel like it's not anything special or to write home about. So just my opinion. Don't be mad. Don't be mad. I said what I said. And then lastly, the final question is, what is the bronzer that disappointed you the most? And I'm going to have to give that to Miss Charlotte Tilbury. Now, I wanted to like the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer so much. Like, I had such high hopes. Here's the thing though. Packaging, 10 out of 10. But shades, 2 out of 10. This is the shade Tan, and this is the shade Deep. Deep is the deepest shade that Charlotte has in her line. Now, I fall somewhere between Tan and Deep. So when I use Tan, I have to use Tan at my lightest. Otherwise, it's not going to work for me. Like right now, Tan isn't going to work for me. And Deep is a little too deep and too red for my preference. And I'm somewhere in between. So when it comes to me using this bronzer, it's not a bronzer that I can just pick up and use. I actually have to mix these two, start with this and then buff it out with this in order for me to get my perfect shade. That is team too much work when I have such a large bronzer collection. I shouldn't have to be mixing and matching and jumping through hoops to figure out which shade, you know, how much of this one versus how much of this one to get my perfect shade. And I was really disappointed because the thing is that this is a really nice formula. I think the formula in here is nice. It's super blendable. It does what it do. But the shades, man, the shades. And if we're being really honest, the deepest shade in this line is not deep enough. So while it might work for somebody that's like a couple of shades deeper than me, it definitely does not go deep enough for people that are really rich. So Charlotte could have done better, and I'm really disappointed. And I know she just released her cream bronzer line, which is also the same 4 shades. So I don't know. Not for me. All right. So if you've made it to this part of the video, I have a surprise. I'm going to be doing a giveaway. I think I said in the beginning that I'm actually wearing the Oden's Eye Solmon 2 palette, and this video should be up after that one or before that one, but basically with the video I actually ended up using my Sydney Grace brushes to create this look. Now Sydney Grace was kind enough to send over their new brush set for me to try, and they also sent over some other goodies, which included the Tiny Marvels palette. Now this is the collab palette with Mel Thompson, the late Mel Thompson, who I absolutely love. It is a palette that I adore. I actually have my own palette. So this is the color story of the Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson palette. Now because I already have this eyeshadow palette, I'm going to be giving away this one. I'm super duper grateful that Sydney Grace sent this to me along with their brushes. And I love being able to pass the love along on to you guys. So we're going to be doing a giveaway for this palette, which has nothing to do with bronzers, but hey, why not? So here's how it's going to work. First and foremost, you must be subscribed to my channel. I mean, ain't that obvious? You have to like this video. You must also be subscribed to my Instagram. My Instagram handle will be down here below somewhere or in the description box. It's everywhere. You can find it. It's just Jammy_training. So you must be subscribed to this channel. You must like this video. You must be following me on Instagram. And you must leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite bronzer is. I love bronzers. It's bronzer season. I'm always looking to try new bronzers. So if you have like a favorite bronzer that you use, I want to know that in the comments down below. Now, here's the thing. YouTube is a little bit finicky when it comes to people leaving their IG handles. So just leave your IG name without saying that it's your IG name. Yeah, like don't say Instagram XYZ, but leave your IG handle down below. Now I will have all of the instructions. The actual instructions will be in the description box, so make sure you read the instructions in the description box carefully if you want to qualify for the giveaway. This giveaway will be open for 2 weeks. I'll leave it open for 2 weeks from whenever this video goes up. So like I said, read the description box because I don't know when I'll have time to edit and upload this video. So it will be open for 2 weeks, and I will, you know, make sure and let y'all know who the winner is and contact them and all of that. So again, all of the instructions will be in the description box. Make sure you are reading the instructions very, very carefully if you want to enter the giveaway. Also, leave a sun in the comments. It is bronzer season, which is sunshine season, so leave a little sun in your comments as well. Like I said, follow the instructions in the description box. I'm just too tired to really think of all of the instructions fully. It's it's a lot. But that's it, guys. Thank you so very much for watching today's video. I love you guys so very much. Like I said, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like this video if you like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe on your way out. As I always say, share with a friend if you think they'll like the content. And as always, thank you so very much for watching. And I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye!